Wasn't on. Sorry. Do we need to start over?
Well, I would suggest you do because no one would have heard you.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that.
Do we
I
have to
forgot
start
to
over?
turn my mic on.
Do you have to start over? Okay, can we start over?
Okay. Sorry about that, folks. Talking away with no mic. So welcome everyone to Economic Tourism and Cultural Development Council meeting, or committee meeting, December 8th. Call to order. Need approval of agenda. So moved by Mayor Brown, seconded by Councillor
Okay,
Tweel.
so it's on the floor. I just want to, under introduction of new business, just to follow up from the market that Discover Charlottetown hosted there last week. What was the market on Queen Street and area that we closed off for the lighting of the Christmas?
Well, the Christmas Festival Market?
Yeah, I want to just put that on, if that's possible.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Do we need to approve that again?
Moved.
Okay. And it was seconded by Councillor Tweel. Any declarations of conflict of interest? Seeing none. Approval of the minutes of November 15th committee meeting. Everybody have a chance to look at them? Need an approver? So moved by Mayor Brown, seconded by Councillor Tweel. Any business arising from the minutes? Seeing none, we'll go on to discussions and reports. One item on the agenda, a funding request from the Guild, and the floor is yours. Doug?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I am here first of all, thank you all so much for meeting on such short notice. I'm bringing forward a request today that Council endorse a $25,000 emergency grant for the Guild, and that it be expensed from the funds approved for grants in the 2023-2024 budget. So as is outlined in the report and in the presentation that Roma Dingwall, the CEO, presented a few weeks back, the Guild is currently facing imminent collapse and requires bridge funding to bring them to the end of the fiscal year. So as was outlined, rising costs, building maintenance, and pandemic-related expenses have created significant financial challenges that can't be overcome without immediate support. So they have cut expenses significantly over the past few months, and they're also conducting a building analysis and several other initiatives that will allow them to leverage additional funding opportunities in the future. Among that is a province-funded and province-supported MRSB-led strategic business plan, which will help the Guild determine a sustainable model for the organization going forward. And that plan, I should add too, has participation from very high-level leaders in the arts and culture community, including staff, the acting manager of our department, and other high-level leaders in the community. So the city will have a role in this business plan, and again, the outcome will be a sustainable model for the organization going forward. But in the interim period, right now, without immediate support, a shutdown is imminent, and this would make it extremely difficult for the Guild to bounce back just because of the fallout from a closure. So this funding we are requesting today is to keep the doors open and help carry through while the plan for the future of this community asset is determined. So as much as the community really needs the Guild, and it's clear from my role as the Culture and Economic Coordinator and from the recent cultural policy survey we've done that the Guild is a very treasured organization in the community. So we hope that the city will continue to support the Guild as they have in the past, and by extension, the arts community in their time of need. So I welcome any questions.
Thank you, Doug, for your update there. I do have a question. Is there a timeline on when that plan will be in place or completed?
The most recent timeline that I would have seen, though it might have been adjusted, is that the process has been initiated, and I expect that it'll be complete before the end of the fiscal year. That's my current understanding, but that might have changed.
Thank you. Questions on the floor? Seat 5. Mayor Brown.
Oh. Mr. Chair, Doug, you sit on the board representing the city, correct?
Yes, sir.
When was Roma hired?
I believe it was the end of 2021.
2021.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if I look at your backgrounder, and I look at 2021 audited financial data for 2021, 2023, 2021 loss, $70,178. 2022 loss of $152,000 and 482. Well, 153. And 2023 loss of 115,000. So when Roma was hired, she was hired to come in with some ideas and on increasing the scope of bringing in funding from many partners. As a board member, have you seen that happen? Like, is there an attempt, or is there new funding partners in the queue or with you to help to offset 3 years of losses?
I can answer as much as I can, but yes, as a board member, aside from the things that I've already mentioned, including building analyses and the report, there was a season that passed where they did receive some sponsorship and everything, and I think right now the plan is focused on this plan, which will develop in creating additional sustainable business plan going forward.
This plan being the plan that
The MRSP
is funded by
strategic
provincial
business
government,
plan, yeah.
22,000, 23,000. So Doug, over the last couple of weeks, several weeks, there was an arts and cultural roundtable that was at the Charlottetown Library Learning Center. And then TTIS, I think you're a member of that. This town is small, had a great presentation at the Guild. And the discussion I heard there was that the current arts and cultural community and how it relates to the Guild, I think there has to be a repurpose of what's happening there. Has that been discussed at the board level?
Yes, it definitely has. I mean, as was brought up by Roma when she presented, there are challenges with the square footage of the building, which have all been addressed. And the board's current mandate is to subsidize and provide space for the arts and culture community. So the building is an important way that they are able to deliver on that. In terms of their ability to deliver on that mandate, I think it's important that this MRSB review be carried out in order to have a plan for the future of the building. And not only the building, but also kind of examining that mandate to see how it can best serve the arts and culture community going forward. So it's all part of that process. And, you know, it is a space that is important for the arts and culture community, and people have, as you mentioned at these events, raised how much value it has. And if there's ways that it can serve the community even better, I think that's an important outcome that we're hoping will come out of this process as well.
Well, Councillor Tweel and I go back to when this facility was got off the ground back in 2000, 2001, 2002, when the city was on board right from the start. And the city has been on board right since then until now, and I'm sure that we'll look at something today. But what's MRSB, which is an accounting firm, when they look at 3 years of losses, financial losses? Something has to be done. I know there have been cuts, significant expense cuts, but on the revenue side, that's where you have to balance the books. So the discussion, like I know you talked about sponsorship, but I mean, when I talk about sponsorship, I'm looking at more of, you know, a national body or a national corporation, something that could provide something that, you know, funding for 1, 3, 5 years. Is that being looked at?
I mean, I can't speak to the specifics right now, but I do know that since 2015, it's been brought to my attention that the operating expenses of the facility have doubled since that time. So, costs are increasing, and there is definitely opportunities, I'm sure, for sponsorship. But I think right now the focus on is keeping the building, going until this report can provide a plan for the sustainable future of the Guild.
Just have to remember, Mr. Chair, Doug DeMay is only the messenger today, so I'm not taking shots at him. I'm just asking the question. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship. Councillor McAleer, and then Councillor Twill.
Yeah, Doug, just on the committee report, the background, just context, maybe if you could. Without city support, a long-term shutdown is imminent. A long-term shutdown. What's that mean?
Thank you, Councillor McAleer. So the challenge is just because of the current finances that if there's a door closure, that also involves, potentially some staff layoffs or the inability to keep the building open, essentially. So based on my understanding of these situations in terms of arts organizations and other arts organizations, if you don't have staff, it's really challenging to be able to kind of start back up again and raise more funds. And, some of the staff might move on to other opportunities and everything. So it's a long-term shutdown is compounded by a short-term shutdown, right? So it could be for a few months, but it just depends. It makes it extremely challenging to kind of start back up again after the closure happens. So long-term shutdown is a possibility, just if they're unable to keep the doors open at this time.
Thank you, Councillor McAleer. Just one question. It doesn't say anywhere, I don't see anywhere, it doesn't show the revenue that's coming in to offsets the over $300,000 in losses. What kind of revenue is coming in to help with the grants that they're receiving?
The revenue is generally from the Guild. Just, you wanted some more insight onto the Guild's revenues? Yeah, so it's bar sales, there's rental, it's a rental venue, so they get some funds from rent. The province and the city of Charlottetown are obviously key supporters. So it's there's some sponsorship and everything as well, but it's ticket sales, it's a theater, so those revenues are all in there as well, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Twill, question?
Thanks, Doug, for your presentation. I think today's request is pretty straightforward. Either we approve the recommendation of City Council or we don't. And if we don't, I think the Executive Director was quite clear in her presentation to Council a couple of weeks ago. I don't think she could have been any more candid than what she was. This organization, like other organizations, are facing financial difficulties for a variety of reasons. I think we approve the $25,000. I think we engage with our executive director over the next year. We work with the Guild. The Guild plays an indispensable role when it comes to events that are happening in our downtown. And I think it'd be a real tragedy if we didn't support the Guild. These are challenging times. These are uncharted waters. She made it quite clear, and I think Doug pointed out the footprint of the building. It's not really, if you were to look at that building, the footprint, the square footage, it's really not conducive to the type of arts and culture facility. For example, if you compared that to the Playhouse in Georgetown, just do a comparative analysis. I mean, that is a facility that has the prerequisites. This facility doesn't. So I think you got to give the staff and the board a lot of credit for trying to work within the confines of that facility. And, you know, the city of Charlottetown hosts a number of events throughout the year. For example, open houses, whether it be for transit, for big projects like North River Road, University Avenue. We should be hosting some of our events at the Arts Guild, right? Let's get down there and let's show some support. We did that years ago, and we kind of got away from it. So let's practice what we preach. We want to support it. Let's host some events down at the Arts Guild. Let's work with the executive director. I'm sure she's very open to suggestions and recommendations from this committee and all members of City Council, the community. I mean, it took a lot of courage to come in here and to be as candid, as frank as she was. She didn't try to sugarcoat it. So that was something I certainly appreciated. And I would move that we support the $25,000, and I hope the committee supports it and then moves on to council. I hope council votes for it, and then we start to work on a long-term plan. We look at the disparities and the discrepancies of that building, and what can we do from our end? But I think in the interim, Doug, maybe you could work with communications and all the other departments. If there's an event or an open house or whatever the case may be, let's host it at the Arts Guild. So I put a motion on the floor to support it, to move it.
I second that. Councillor Twill, as I said, the province, I believe their contribution is about 22,000. I'd like to match their 22,000, but you're saying 25.
25, and I asked the province to match the 25. Let's up the ante for the provincial government.
Well, the province has
do
already, put their money on the table with the study that they're paying for, so that's about 22. Doug, just quickly, if I go back to your history, in 2011, due to financial challenges related to operations in December of that year, the building was shut down. 2012, doors reopened with an increased financial commitment from the city and the province. So the former CEO closed it down, but reopened in 2012 with additional money or additional funding. Again, I support the resolution, but Doug, again, it has to go back to the board. MRSB will not be this won't be the holy grail here. We need more than just a report. We need a plan that shows where the new funding, like new sources of funding are going to come from. Do we repurpose the building? Like, if we want to hold anything in that facility in the theater, it's quite difficult because of the space that is taken up by the seating, the seating or the system, the seating system they have, or seating that they have in the main theater. So it'd have to go back to what it was originally, which Councillor Twill is referring to. It was an open space where there were many community meetings, and I attended many of them at that facility when it was just an open space for community, for the arts community, whether it's print, whether it's drama, any aspects of art would be very useful, and use that space. And this actually goes with one of my 5 priorities. One of my 5 priorities is arts, culture, and heritage. So it fits perfectly into it. But like everything, we all have a responsibility that if we're going to make it work, this is a two-way street and not just one way in terms of going back to the same funding partners. There has to be more effort into getting new sources of revenue, not just cutting expenses, or let's look at maybe a repurposing of what it is now and what it could be. So I do support the resolution.
Okay, One sec, there was a question on the, motion put on the floor, and then I'm not sure if, Mayor, you were asking to amend it to a different amount. I just need clarification on that.
No, Councillor Twill is going with 25. I'll support that.
Okay,
yeah.
So you
You know,
seconded
and then I'm sure that'll be this, that vote will, filter up into council on Monday night. I'm sure it will.
it. All in favor of the motion? Passed. Carried. Oh, more discussion?
It's just a comment. I'm just thinking that personally, it's somewhere along the line at some point, like on the continued support from the city going forward for the guild, that there's maybe there should be some thought given to some kind of a time frame. I don't know what that time frame is here on as I speak, but. The city has looks like it's been a very good financial supporter of this organization from the get-go. But do we continue on just being the banker, I guess, and do we put some kind of time frame on reevaluating our continued commitment to this thing? Is it a year's time, 2 years' time, where we kind of anyway, just I guess more of a comment than a question. Anyway, thank you.
Yep, Councillor, thank you, Councillor McAleer. Councillor Twill.
Yeah, just to reiterate, I think we get over this hurdle. Then we sit down with the executive director and maybe even have a session with the board. And we have these open and frank discussions. I'm sure they'd be open to that, to see what the long-term plan could look like, what the challenges are, everything from the footprint of the building to, renovations that are required, and to see what strategies can be put in place to effectively deal with that. I think today, let's support it. Let's give this organization time to build that plan of action with the support of the city of Charlotte and the province. And I'll reiterate once again, we need to host more city and community events in the Arts Guild. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Twill. And yes, so no, we're supporting it to go back to council for Monday evening, and we'll discuss it there. But I agree with Councillor Twill, with over this hurdle, still appears to be several questions that need to be answered moving forward, whether it's going to be a year's time, 2 years' time, or what the future plan is. So, done. On to new business. Mayor Brown.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just with the event that took place a couple of weeks ago, I know, again, Doug, you're part of that program. That's, Department of Economic Development, Tourism, Investment Events are working collaboratively with Discover Charlottetown, is that correct? It's the event that took place at the same time as the Christmas tree lighting.
You're referring to the Victorian Christmas market?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what's our involvement with it? Do we work with Downtown Charlottetown Inc. and Discover Charlottetown? I just want to find out what is the collaborative or ownership of it.
Yeah, this is, so just in the interest of transparency, it's a bit outside of my direct area. I know I don't want to provide any inaccurate information, so I would probably ask that this conversation be deferred to the next meeting of this committee to next week on Wednesday,
Yeah.
if possible. If there's any specific questions I can.
So
I don't
this
know.
will be a notice, just to put it on the next agenda, Mr. Chair, and it relates to infrastructure that is used for this event. Some of the residents that live in that area had to listen to generators working all night because of what this event required. So if you could just send that back to the department and find out, Doug, so that we could speak about it at the next meeting of economic development, which is next week, is it? Or it is? Great. So I'll just want to put it on notice for that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. Any other question? Any new business? Motion to adjourn. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.